Hi everyone, it's Kristan Hawkins. Welcome to this special episode of Explicitly Pro-Life Podcast. Well, I was in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago for the Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health oral arguments at the Supreme Court. I had the opportunity to sit down with former Vice President Mike Pence and his podcast, American Freedom with Mike Pence. And so I thought you would like to tune in to the discussion that he and I had, as well as one of the Students for Life leaders at Catholic University of America, about why this generation is the pro-life generation, why we're going to become the post-Roe generation, and what we're looking forward to and what we know we've got to do in the coming weeks and months as we're awaiting a Supreme Court decision on the Dobbs v. Jackson case. So listen in.
Welcome back to American Freedom. This is Mike Pence coming to you from the National Press Club, talking about a moment in history. This week, the Supreme Court of the United States heard oral arguments on a Mississippi case that could well be the vehicle to overturn Roe versus Wade and to give our nation a new beginning for life. Heard from Marjorie Dannenfelser a few moments ago, who's been active in ensuring the election of women and men to state houses and the Congresses across the country. But as I said at the National Press Club this week, I truly do believe that the rising generation is the pro-life generation. And one of the singular leaders of that movement is the president of Students for Life of America and Students for Life Action, someone who's been a friend of mine for many years and a friend of life for all those years. Kristan Hawkins is with us. Kristan, welcome to American Freedom.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Yeah, it's just great to have you here. And a momentous week, oral arguments this week before the Supreme Court. The decision will not come. How important is this moment to you? And then I want to talk about this generation of which you're one of the singular leaders for life.
This is a very important moment for the pro-life generation. And you have to think about so many of us in this generation, or all of us, have never known the United States of America without the violence of abortion. And so we've been advocating for something that we've actually never lived under, and re-envisioning what does that look like? What does it look like when abortion is made illegal and unthinkable in our nation? Something that we had the opportunity to do this week in front of the court. We were sleeping out, camping out all night before the oral arguments, reserving the space for the movement the day of, and we were able to project on the court the phrase, "We are the post-Roe generation." And that's something that we've been really focusing on. We really are going to have to change the tagline, because this generation will be the first post-Roe generation. And what does that mean, and what does that require of us to do as we're making preparations for that moment when states get to decide?
It's been one of the truly inspiring things to me. I've been pro-life throughout my adult life. But to see the rise of the youth movement in the last 20 years, your organization has 1,200 Students for Life chapters in all 50 states. You've trained over 100,000 young people in this movement. Tell me that, and I say this with great admiration for your generation, and of which my kids are a part.
That's right.
What is it about this generation that they've understood the cause of life? And virtually every day, this generation has been more and more pro-life.
Sure. Well, I think very basically, we've seen our brothers and sisters in the womb. We've seen the reality of what abortion is. And so those antiquated arguments of the 1970s of it's a blob of tissue, it's nothing, those don't carry weight. And so the debate actually shifts. This is also a very pro-justice generation. So, when we're on campuses and we're talking about the violence of abortion, depriving someone of their right to life, that doesn't feel well to students. Even students who may not call themselves pro-life, or they may use the label pro-choice, they don't like abortion. And that's why, it's so deceiving when you see the polls that will come out. And, the abortion industry, I'm sure, will have a bunch of polls, and mainstream media will be coming out saying, oh, Americans support Roe versus Wade. The court can't reverse Roe versus Wade. But the reality is, every time I poll this, we always show Americans don't know. We did this last year. We asked young people, 18 to 34, do you support Roe? Majority said yes. Then one line said, do you know Roe allows for abortions in all 9 months for any reason, sometimes with taxpayer funds? Re-asked the exact same question, and instantly we had the majority support.
Instantly.
Instantly. I mean,
Right.
with one line.
Right.
And so Americans, regardless of their label, do not like Roe versus Wade.
I
They
believe
don't
it
like
with all my
abortion.
heart. I believe it with all my heart. But you're saying of this generation, I love your term as a pro-justice generation. My daughter, Charlotte Pence Bond,
She's terrific.
has been active in the pro-life movement, but she's also been active in opposition to human trafficking.
That's right.
And my son, when he was an undergraduate at Purdue University, got involved in the program there fighting human
right.
trafficking. This is a pro-justice generation, and they understand that ending an innocent, defenseless, unborn human life is morally wrong.
And they see that that's the opposite of the empowerment, the feminist message that we've been fed, right? Of women can do anything except be pregnant and finish school, except be pregnant and seek and achieve the career of their dreams. That's totally anti-feminist. It's the very opposite of what feminism is supposed to be about. And so they understand that. And I think that's what's so exciting about, talking about a post-Roe America. And you'll see a lot of, obviously reporters and those on the other side saying, well, what about all the women? What about all these unwanted babies? What's the pro-life movement going to do? And my very simple response is, have you ever met any of us? Because that is what we do. We've knocked on over 80,000 doors in 20 cities this fall, not for a political candidate, just to go in neighborhoods surrounding abortion facilities, making neighbors aware of the nonviolent pregnancy alternatives available in their cities.
Beautiful.
And we are literally doing it. So we're changing the policies on campuses, changing minds, and then we're also now going out into the communities. And the students are asking, what more can I do? I have to do more than just advocate against Roe versus Wade. I've got to be for women, for their children, for their families. Where can I go?
It's been one of the smears of the left.
That's right.
And the pro-abortion movement in this country to
all
say
the time.
you care about the baby when they're in the womb and you don't care after. My answer to them is always crisis pregnancy center. 2,700 crisis pregnancy centers all across America. Most of the staff are volunteers. We'll speak before the end of American Freedom Today with a heroic couple from Texas that took it upon themselves to come alongside
That's right.
women in crisis pregnancies. I mean, this is
8,000 fairly qualified health centers.
That's right.
8,000 that we're already
Compare.
funding with taxpayer dollars. If every Planned Parenthood in America would shut down tomorrow, each FQHC would only need to see 2 more patients a week. So we don't need Planned Parenthood. We don't need the abortion industry.
Yeah, really inspiring. Kristan Hawkins is the president of Students for Life for America, and she's going to stick around. But Katrina Fee is part of this movement that you help to lead around the country. She also, I'm happy to say on this broadcast, sponsored by Young America's Foundation, she is the chairman of Young Americans on Catholic University campus here in Washington, D.C. And Katrina Fee, welcome to American Freedom.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. So you're sitting next to Kristan Hawkins, someone who you know well. You're part of this movement. You literally founded a group on your campus called Cardinals for Life. Why are you pro-life?
Oh my goodness. I'm pro-life first and foremost because of my faith. And I think I speak for a lot of students at Catholic University for that reason as well. Our faith tells us very clearly, before I knew you before I knitted you in your mother's womb. And that is just such a clear, that's as clear as it gets, that our faith calls us to defend the most vulnerable, especially the unborn, the voiceless, and those who don't have anyone else to defend them. So I was raised with those values in mind. I'm also a triplet. And when my mother found out that she was going to have 3 kids all at the same time, and given her small size, her doctor said, I would recommend that you reduce your pregnancy, that you
Reduce the pregnancy by aborting.
Yes, killing
one of
me
the unborn
or
children.
one of my sisters. So I am grateful every day that my mother was horrified that that was said to her, and she walked right out of there. And fortunately, we were born healthy, and we're all healthy to this day.
But your mom chose life.
Yes, she did. And so many of my generation are grateful for that because, like you said, Kristan, we've grown up in a post-Roe America. We don't know
Right.
anything else
You don't know
other
anything
than
else. Right.
right. So our mothers all had the option to abort us. They all were presented with that thought, or like my mother, or doctor suggested it.
And
So
not only the option, but also a culture that said it was perfectly acceptable.
right, exactly. So I think that's also another factor that my generation, at least for me, plays into why we are the pro-life generation, is because we're grateful for the fact that we're alive, because our mothers chose life. And I think that gratitude is just really powerful in how we will change the culture towards life in this country.
Katrina Fee with Catholic University, Young America's Foundation on campus, and Cardinals for Life. Great words, really inspiring. Kristan, before we let you go, today here at the National Press Club, I talked about this generation, and I hear it a bit in Katrina in your words that the rise in support for the sanctity of life among this young generation is, I think it's deeply personal. That I feel that it's stories like Katrina learning from her mom that a doctor came and said, you're pregnant with triplets, we should, what was the term? Reduce the pregnancy. And you grew up understanding that there was a moment at which, but for your mother's faith and values, that one of you 3 would not be with us today. Is it those personal stories? Is it as I suspect? Is it that maybe there's conversations that are happening between mothers and daughters, between grandmothers and granddaughters, women who have gone through abortion that are sitting their daughters down, their granddaughters down, and saying, let me tell you what this really is, and let me help take you somewhere where you can choose life?
Sometimes. I wish that were more the case. What we find at Students for Life, often when a student starts a Students for Life group on high school or college campus, that is when the abortion story comes out in the family. Because a parent can be very upset. We've had, fathers and mothers call yelling at us.
So when the student becomes active, then maybe a parent then comes and says, you can't be involved in this.
Yes, and the student finds out.
Because this is personal.
That they've had a sibling aborted. And it comes out very quickly in the family. And so we've seen a lot of cases like that. And I have some very, very sad stories about that. I think the other thing we do see, and this is not good news, of the mothers telling the young girls and the young boys, especially the young men, you don't have a say, shut up. And our parents' generation is actually more pro-abortion than our generation. And so it's the parents who are instilling in our young men. We're doing a 6-figure research study right now on young men and their attitudes on abortion, how to really connect with young men. And their parents have done a number on them of you don't have any say. And the number of young women I meet a lot of former Christians, young girls who became pregnant, whose then parents, who were elders in the church, very involved in their parish, who forced them to get an abortion, drug them to the abortion facility because they didn't want anyone else to know in their family, in their neighborhood, that their daughter was a sinner. And so we actually see not a lot of those good stories. We see more of the sad
I
stories.
see. But that is a personal impact that
Absolutely.
is likely stealing part of your generation as well in ways
Absolutely.
that I didn't reflect on. But where your generation
Mm-hmm.
is saying, whether it's young women or young men, are saying this is not as it should be. Does that
Yeah.
resonate with you, Katrina?
Yeah, absolutely. Something we see on campus all the time is, well, how does this relate to me? I'm just a college student. I'm not a pregnant woman. That's not my business. And it's organizations like YAF and Students for Life, our Cardinals for Life chapter, that really try to bring that issue to every individual, say to young men on college campuses who have been told, you don't have a say in this, your opinion doesn't matter. No, this is a human issue. We are all human beings. Something that we did last year with the help of Students for Life was have a memorial on our main campus lawn of over 2,000 crosses for each child that is killed every day from abortion. And I think most people would say one child being aborted is horrible, a crime. But I don't think anyone truly understanding what abortion is could look at that lawn and just see the magnitude of this and then say, oh yeah, that's not my problem. No, this is all of our problems. And it's organizations like Students for Life, Young Americans for Freedom, and all the other organizations that are active on campus who are trying to bring that message to students today when they didn't get it from their parents.
Well, Katrina Fee, a member of Young America's Foundation and also the founder of Cardinals for Life at Catholic University. Thank you so much for your stand.
We do our best, sir. Thank
for
you.
your eloquence. You're a great example of this generation. And Kristan Hawkins, the president of Students for Life. How do people get a hold of Students for Life if they're excited about this moment, that they want to get behind this movement? Where do they, and you've got a wonderful podcast, Explicitly Pro-Life. Where do they go to support Students for Life?
You can just go to studentsforlife.org or abortionfreecities.org if you want to get involved right in your city.
Kristan Hawkins, thank you so much
Thanks for having me.
for your steadfast stand for life. I truly do believe that this is the pro-life generation, and I believe whether it comes now in this Mississippi case or whether
It's
it
coming.
comes soon thereafter, we will come to a post-Roe America.
That's right.
And it will have been your generation that led us out.
But it will have been your leadership, sir, that helped us get there.
Well,
And I think that isn't talked about enough right now, especially in our national narrative of why are we at this moment right now, is because of your leadership, your partnership with Donald J. Trump for president to guide us to this point. So
Well,
thank you, sir.
well.
You're the reason we're right now.
I'm humbled by that. And Kristan Hawkins, thank you so much. President of Students for Life and Students for Life Action. I expect you would say, Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade, your generation's ready.
We're ready. We've got this, sir. We were born for it.
Yeah, you were born for it. This is Mike Pence with American Freedom. We'll be right back with an extraordinary story from the Lone Star State of compassion in response to the cause of life. We'll be right back.